Welcome to America's #1 Cincinnati-based museum podcast. Meanwhile, at the museum, the show that takes you behind the scenes and beyond Cincinnati Museum Center. Over there on the ones and twos, we have our producer, Magic Mitch Seifert.
Hello, hello.
I'm your host, Cody Hefner. Today, we are joined by a man Applebee's hates to see coming. You know him, you love him. Meteorologist Cameron Hardin.
Applebee's enthusiast, deviled eggs enthusiast.
All right, just dive in right to it. Tell me about the deviled eggs. So, you and my wife teamed up on me 2 Thanksgivings ago about my fake love for deviled eggs.
You're a poser.
I am not a deviled eggs poser, but you're a diehard.
Oh my goodness, love them. I mean, it's to the point where, for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, those common holidays where you bring in some deviled eggs, or as in our house, we call them angel eggs.
Yes.
That's pretty much all I eat during the day. I'll have 15 to 20 deviled eggs, and I will not feel bad about it.
Which is, for those keeping count, 15 to 20 deviled eggs is like 10 eggs.
10 eggs.
Has your deviled egg consumption changed as egg prices have gone up, or have you made sacrifices elsewhere in the budget?
I have probably made sacrifices elsewhere just because I will not let inflation beat me down when it comes to my egg love.
Are you a deviled egg traditionalist? Do you like to get crazy with it?
I mean, everybody loves the classic. That being said, what was it? A year and a half ago, we made Diet Mountain Dew infused deviled eggs.
Yes. So I preyed on things that I knew about you. A love of Mountain Dew, of all varieties.
Diet Dew is my go-to. That's what I prefer. Mainly because I can drink 100 of them a day and not feel gross.
Yeah.
Whereas if I drink any regular soda, because diet soda is my go-to. And I know it's not healthier for you. I know that. So don't come after me and be like, that's worse for you. I know. But when I drink like a real Dr. Pepper or a real Mountain Dew, I feel full because of all that real sugar. Whereas the aspartame stuff or whatever, that's really bad for you, it just goes right through me and I feel great.
We're a science museum. Aspartame, possibly scientific miracle.
That's right.
Scientific villain. Who knows? The research is still out, but that is the beauty of science, is it's trial and error, and we're always learning new stuff. All right, so back to deviled eggs. We did, we did Mountain Dew deviled eggs. Were hard-boiled eggs. And I was preparing for this segment before a board meeting in which, everyone else walks in. They're all buttoned up and very professional. And I walk in and I'm pulling gloves off that have yolk on them. Like, what were you just doing in there? And I go, oh, we're making Mountain Dew deviled eggs. So we were preparing for this. You take the hard-boiled egg, you pop the yolks out, and then you soak the whites in Mountain Dew. When we did a test, we kind of just dipped them in and then pulled them back out. And we're like, it's not dewy enough.
Right.
So then we soaked them. Some we soaked overnight, but I think you can get by for, a couple hours if you're in a pinch. And then the filling, we took the yolk, we put some Chick-fil-A sauce in there.
That's right.
A little bit of Doritos on top. We brought these in studio. We talked about the science of deviled eggs. I didn't do it. It
was the food lab section.
Yeah, it was someone from our
all in the love of
studio.
science.
Yeah, because I asked you, I said, if I can find a science angle and pitch you a deviled egg segment, will we do it? And you said, yes, pitch it.
Absolutely.
And we did it, and we brought these in studio, and
they were a hit.
We brought like 60 deviled eggs.
And I might have eaten 30 of them.
They were gone. Yeah, they were gone. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but like at home, are you getting wild? Are you like throwing jalapenos on there? Are you throwing bacon in there?
I do not make them.
You're just a deviled egg consumer?
My wife makes them, and they are amazing. And why mess with a good thing? Also, I just don't know how to make them. So,
are you kidding? All right. Well,
maybe we should have a bonding moment where we one Easter Eve or something, we come over and we teach each other how to make deviled eggs. Well, you clearly already know how.
We do like a ghost style?
Yes.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is a good opportunity to make a deviled egg class down in our culinary lab.
So I think there is a deviled egg program, but I don't think we do it enough because our Create Culinary Studio, a lot of the classes are geared towards kids. And Cam, I think you'd agree, kids need to learn to make deviled eggs.
The fact that Ren still isn't making her own meals at age 4 almost, I'm disappointed in her.
meals, appetizers at least,
Right.
right?
She's kind of nailed the mozzarella sticks. She knows she'll pick those out. She'll put them on the plate, and she sets the oven. So she's nailed that part.
That's awesome.
But who can't work an oven? I mean, come on, Ren. Like, what are you doing? And she's probably going to be listening to this.
You're almost 4.
Yeah.
Work the oven. Put it on convection. Come on. All right, so deviled eggs, Applebee's.
Yeah.
Let's just get Applebee's out of the way, right at the top, close to your heart.
Yeah.
Clogging your heart.
Clogging the arteries and everything.
What's your order at Applebee's?
So I just got an email this morning, because of course I'm on their email list, that they have brought back the 50-cent wings.
Nice.
They usually do this during like big sporting seasons and obviously with March Madness. So I think throughout this week and next, 50-cent wings.
Are these boneless or are they bone-in?
They're boneless, and that's what I'm a fan of. And I know those aren't the real wings. I know it. Okay.
I'm a big boneless fan too.
Just give me a big nugget covered in sauce. I mean, I understand it's just a big nugget, and I'm okay with that because I love chicken nuggets.
That's okay.
Give me a massive boneless wing, and I'm gonna love it.
Which is funny because it's 50-cent wings. So for $5, you're eating 10 boneless wings,
and they're big.
They are,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the same thing with like mozzarella sticks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have young daughters, so I'm sure you have a lot of string cheese in the house.
Yep. The like the circle ones with the wax you have to peel off.
Oh, the Baby Bell.
Baby Bell. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they're obsessed with that.
Again, Baby Bell, we're open for sponsors. If you're listening, love to have you. But you're not going to eat like 6 of those wheels, but you will eat 6 mozzarella
absolutely
sticks.
You will.
So you're probably not going to go around often ordering a 10-pack of nuggets or like a 20-pack of nuggets and eating those yourselves. But boneless wings,
Absolutely.
hammer them.
Anybody that I have convinced to go there to try their boneless wings, their barbecue wings, it's unbelievable. They've like added sauces, and some of them are pretty good, but like they're so saucy. Some of these places they skimp out on the sauce a little bit. These things are drowned in barbecue sauce.
That's what they say about you. Cam's Applebee's or not,
Just
Cam's
saucy.
Cam's saucy.
From top to bottom. But I will give a shout out to, I go to the Highland Heights one, Applebee's. It's the closest one to me, which is right on NKU's campus. And they're fantastic over there. Joel Wilson, who's my main bartender / server, love him. He got both my daughters a baby gift.
That's amazing.
Strictly through our relationship that we have built.
That's how much you go to Applebee's.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're the rare millennial keeping Applebee's alive.
And I don't understand why more people don't go. Because it's good food. It's relatively inexpensive for a fast food or, dine-in place. And yeah, I mean, eating good in the neighborhood. There's no better slogan than that.
That's See, I got, for a while, I got Applebee's and Chili's mixed up.
That's understandable.
Confused, because I'm like, Applebee's, the baby back ribs, right? And it's like, nope, that's Chili's.
Yep.
But, I mean, my wife she'll see an Applebee's commercial on TV and she's like, I don't know, the burger looks pretty good.
They have a new fried chicken sandwich that came out, and I kid you not, it is one of the best chicken sandwiches I've ever had.
It's just the boneless wing all grown up.
Pretty much,
right?
And it's massive. Massive.
Do they do cauliflower wings? Do they do veggie wings?
Ooh,
do you know?
I don't think so. I don't
All right,
think
so Mitch,
so.
you're out. Mitch, as our podcast vegetarian, sorry to single you out and make you the spokesperson for all vegetarians, but from a boneless wing perspective, like a cauliflower wing, do those hit the spot for you?
I had some really good cauliflower wings a couple weeks back at Sonder Brewery in Mason.
Oh,
nice.
Okay,
Yep.
nice. My wife is same with you. She's vegetarian, dairy-free, allergic to eggs, butter, all that stuff. And so I know you look at me when I say
She's allergic
eggs.
to eggs, and you're sending her into the lion's den to scratch your angel egg itch.
I think some of her allergies are make-believe, but because she has so many of them, they're not. I understand. I love her. But we're always struggling to find places like that because she can't go to Applebee's.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fine with me. It's like it's my time to reset, be by myself.
She just paces outside the door. It's like she wants to get in, but there's this barrier. So she's just pacing, looking for that opening.
Yeah.
And you're just in there, you and Joel just hanging out.
That's right, and I'm okay with it. One of the few places that we found that's really good for her is Brewdog.
Yeah, they got a lot of good options.
A lot of good. They have like vegan Mondays, I think, or something like that. And they have the cauliflower wings there. So I've had some cauliflower wings when she makes them, and again, if you put enough sauce on something, I'm gonna eat it. And yeah, not bad.
All right, so we cover the important stuff. We got the deviled
right.
eggs and Mountain Dew and Applebee's. We'll probably come back to some of that, but you are a meteorologist by trade.
Yep.
Mitch has a burning question about meteorology.
Oh no.
Okay, so what is meteorology?
Okay.
And why is it not the study of meteors?
That's a good question. Funny story off of that. I was in sophomore, junior year in college. I was walking into a calc class, and
Do you want to shout out where you went to college?
Oh, I went to Purdue University. Boiler up. Big game tomorrow. I don't know when this airs, but it's probably not going to air before tomorrow.
By the time this airs, Purdue's still in the tournament, right? Let's
hope so,
counting
because 24 hours from right now is when they play, and I'm knowing their past history, I'm not too optimistic, but we'll see what happens. But I walk into class, and I forget how we got on the conversation, but it's a TA who's teaching the class. And I said that I was just majoring in meteorology, and he immediately said, like, "Oh, that's so cool to study meteors." And I didn't correct him because, like, it happens. It makes sense to think that. And then probably like 30 minutes later into class, he stops and goes, "Oh my gosh." He's like, "I'm so dumb. You're studying weather, not meteors." I said, "Yeah, correct." Like,
TAs are in grad school. They are getting advanced degrees by this point.
They are smart people,
So.
But I mean, why wouldn't a normal person, when you hear meteorology, yeah, you're studying meters. So I don't have the answer. I don't know why that was, the resolution that they came to. I know that at Purdue there was two different meteorology majors. There was meteorology, which I was in, and then atmospheric sciences, which is what the other half of the people were in. It was almost identical. Mine was in the School of Agriculture, which I preferred, being in a small farm town growing up, and then atmospheric science was in the School of Science, but you're taking all the same stuff by the time it's all said and done.
Meteorology was in the School of Agriculture?
So mine was applied meteorology.
Yeah.
And so the side classes, the extra 5 to 10 classes that I did different than them, were focused on how weather impacts agriculture.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think of meteorology and they think of weather reports and they say, okay, is it going to rain? Do I need to take an umbrella? Oh, or is the baseball game going to get rained out this week and things like that? But growing up in small towns, we got a ton of weather recently. My wife's like, I wonder how much weather we got. And I was like, let's check the rain gauge.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm surprised we don't have one. She looked at me kind of sided like, come on, do you think this is a joke? I'm like,
Right.
I'm genuinely surprised that you do not have a rain gauge, because growing up we always did, and it was a thing. Like you have to empty it,
Right.
Or otherwise you're getting skewed measurements. But we had a rain gauge on the farm because
Yep.
that kind of stuff
You
matters.
needed it 100%. And my whole wife's family, her dad, uncle, like, they farm thousands of acres in Indiana. So like they are still farmers to this day. And that's kind of what I thought I was going to do. Being surrounded by corn when I grew up, it made sense. I had another major in agricultural communications. So it was all just coming together. I never really thought that I was going to be on TV. I'm not the kind of guy who was like, oh, I need to be seen when I do this. And I had an internship my junior year, because at that point I was still thinking about going to grad school and getting, a PhD and working for, whether it be the government or, some other research firm. Had an internship at a TV station in Indianapolis, and I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. I can see myself doing it. And when I was still finishing up my degree, I got a full-time job at the TV station in town at Purdue. And
Nice.
so what was supposed to be a fun last semester of college ended up being 21 credit hours and 40-hour work weeks. So it was not nearly as fun as what I was hoping, but I mean, an amazing opportunity to already have a full-time job lined up before school ended. And here I am 11 years later, 10 plus years later, still doing it.
I think it makes sense that meteorology was in agriculture, because American forecasting kind of got started here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, first National Weather Service was here.
Yeah, with Cleveland AB. Am I saying that right? Abby?
ABBE, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I
I'm
don't know
not
the
sure.
pronunciation. But the impetus behind it was really to think about the impact of the weather on agriculture and trade.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
People have a love-hate relationship.
Really?
With
Really?
TV
I
weather.
had no idea.
Do you get a lot of grief from people?
Oh, yeah.
What is their beef?
Most of the time, it's people who have too much time on their hands, and they want to complain about something, and it's easy to complain about the weather. So we get that a lot. I got the most ridiculous email about a month ago. And when we get these emails, it doesn't usually just come straight to me. It comes like there's like a page on our website. So it goes to everybody in the entire station. So everybody knows what people are complaining about to you, which is just great. But apparently I said darn, D-A-R-N, darn, on air. And
Mitch, you're going to have to bleep that.
this person was livid, saying how it was a gateway to much worse cuss words and how it's just a candy cigarette type reference. And I thought it was a joke, but like the dude was dead serious and so upset. And I didn't even see it when it came in. I had 3 people immediately send me this screenshot of the email. And I'm like, I can't win. I can't win. And I think as soon as you like understand that, like there's going to be people who are mad at you.
I don't want to blow this yet, but there's a famous movie, and there's a quip in the movie where there's a debate whether this person is a meteorologist or weatherman. Mm-hmm. Is there a difference in your mind? I mean, do you consider yourself one or the other, given the fact that your social media handle is Weatherman Cam?
Weatherman
right?
Cam, yes.
But is there a difference, or do you distinguish the two?
So it's funny. In our industry, you are considered a meteorologist if you have a degree in meteorology. If you do not, a lot of people go by weather forecaster or just forecaster. Whether you agree with that or not is what it is. But like I'm also certified by the American Meteorological Society. Like you have to take all these classes, take all these exams, and pass these exams. So like I am a meteorologist. My ex-girlfriend found out that apparently in the general scope, anybody can be called a meteorologist. And so while we were dating, her Twitter bio said self-proclaimed meteorologist on it, and she kept it on there forever just to like irritate me.
Yeah.
Clearly we didn't work out. So yeah.
You have respect for meteorology, and you've got no business for anyone who doesn't.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. We'll go with that. But it's funny because weather is awesome. I mean, it's why I am a meteorologist. I'll step back here and tell a funny side story. Most people, go into college at least thinking they know what they're going to do. I was going to do medicine. My dad was a doctor, is a doctor. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll go to med school. I'm like, sure, take over the family business.
Yeah.
Before I even started, like, got accepted, applied as, I think it was general health sciences, something like that. Before school even started, I was like, you know what, going to school for like 20 years, not my cup of tea. Don't really want to do that. And so I was in the kitchen with my older sister, and I was trying to figure out a new major, going through the Purdue majors list A to Z. Well, applied meteorology popped up, one of the first ones, and I didn't even scroll past the A's. I just went, oh, yeah, I'll do that.
Good enough.
And my sister looked at me like, what? I was like, storms are cool. Like, I'll change it I can change it when I get there, but like, I just need something new. And like, just didn't really care about it a whole lot when I chose it. And I wouldn't consider myself, at least in my profession, a true weather nerd, because there's so many meteorologists that knew from day one. They have like lightning bolts tattooed on their legs and like clouds and thunderstorms, tornadoes. And I'm just like, I just love storms, as you do. Like, I love movies about weather. And yeah, it's funny how it all kind of panned out. But I also think, at least I think that's why people enjoy kind of the way I deliver the weather, because I'm not on that like straight nerd science base. I explain it in a way that's fun. And, if you're waking up, because I do weekend mornings, at 7, 8 o'clock on a Saturday or Sunday, you don't really care why it's happening. Like tell me what's going to happen and how it's going to impact my life. And I feel like because I'm not so into the science on that side, I'm able to do that pretty well.
What is the science of weather forecasting? Can you walk us through what that looks like?
Yeah, so you get in like on a typical morning. So Saturdays and Sundays are my main day, but I'm doing the noon show during the week. So I have a pretty good idea of what's going on. Let's say it's an active day. Like this past weekend, we had some active weather. I'll get in and I'll look at all the models. So models are forecasts Forecast models like the future views that you see, like whether it's a future view, future cast on any of the other channels, there's about 5 or 6 different models that we use as a profession. We all kind of see the same stuff. And we have to decipher which one we think is going to align with what happens. So most of the time, every station's pretty close on what they're going to say because we're all using the same publicly available data that you guys could use at home as well. We just kind of decide, well, this one's overdoing it a little bit, or over the last 2 to 3 months, the European model has been a lot more accurate. So we're going to go with that over the GFS or over the HER or over the Barron. So, which I'm saying words that you probably don't understand, but those are what the models are called. So you go in, you figure out that, and that gives whether it's rain totals, rain type, whether it's precipitation type, rain, snow, temperatures, all that good stuff. So it gives you everything you need to know. And then we looked at soundings from the National Weather Service, which is when they send the weather balloons up into the sky, up in the atmosphere, so they get a lot of different stuff there. So it's just looking at a lot of different data sets that come in, and we just slowly piece together the forecast. So, yeah.
So you're essentially, we're in March, it's March Madness, so there are basketball analysts that are sort of looking and saying, this is how this team typically plays, this is the team they're going up against, and this is how I think that's going to shake out. You're looking at the models and you're saying this is how these systems normally develop or normally shift, and so that's kind of what you're going with, right?
Yeah, we pretty much you are trusting us with our expert opinion to decipher all of the data that, again, everybody has access to, but we obviously, at least we like to think, know a little bit more and can forecast it just a little bit better.
So I think sometimes people get hung up on percentages when they criticize weather people on their forecasts. Can you explain a little bit about where those percentage numbers come from and what they actually mean?
It's kind of all over the place. You hear people say like, 30% chance of rain means it's only going to rain in 30% of the area. And it really is station by station, which I've been at stations that don't use percentages because it can be so confusing. The way I like to think about it is, I don't want to say common sense because that can be seeming as if I'm talking down on someone. But like if I say there's a 30 to 40% chance of rain, that technically means in my head, like, there's a chance, so some people don't, that's why they don't use a percentage. There's a chance, there's a good chance, it's going to happen kind of thing. Our station rule is if it is above a 60% chance in our minds, we don't put a percentage. So we just put likely. And at that point, anything that's likely is more than likely going to be widespread. Almost everybody gets it. Whereas when you're in the percentages, same thing. It's hit and miss. It's scattered. We tend to do a good job of saying if it's isolated, that means, there's a chance that a few of these towns get a pop-up shower, they get a pop-up storm. Or if we say scattered, they're going to be just hit and miss all around the area. So there'll be several small pockets. Some will get more than others. And that's the other thing. I mean, it's impossible to accurately predict how all, 50 counties in our viewing area, how much rain they are specifically going to get. So there will always be times where we say 2 to 3 inches of rain, which will happen in 2/3 of the area, and then another third gets a half an inch. And they're like, well, I canceled all my plans, and it didn't rain this afternoon, just in the morning. And it's like, yeah, but everybody else got that rain in the afternoon. So it's just the joy of the business, trying to put it in a way that is going to be acceptable to everyone else.
I mean, I'll say publicly, last summer we were at the pool and I texted you and I said, hey, we're at the pool. What time do I need to get out of here before we get soaked? And you said, pack up by 1:45 and you're fine. And 1:41, my wife's like, Cam said we have to pack up. Like, let's get moving. We packed up, and as we were almost home, downpour. Like, you nailed it. So I will publicly shout that out, give you credit where credit's due there.
That.
Not to put you out too much on a limb, but has climate change, has that presented some challenges in your profession? I mean, are you seeing weather models become a little more unpredictable? Or, I mean, people who've been in the industry, who've been doing it for years, they've seen similar weather models over and over and over, year after year after year. But at some point, as these systems change, does that, like, previous knowledge, does some of those years of knowledge kind of get thrown out the window?
Yeah, and I would consider myself still, compared to most people that do this, pretty new. I mean, 10 years, it seems like a decent amount of time, but also you got people been doing this for 40 years and have seen 4 times the amount of data, that I've seen. But what I can say is, you look at monthly data compared to previous year's data, yearly data compared to previous. Warming temperatures have moved in. Whether it is climate change or not climate change, that can be debated by everybody. One thing that has definitely happened, though, is the old tornado alley that we grew up thinking about, out west, Texas, Oklahoma, that really has shifted. And that has gotten worse for us as it shifted a little more to the east. The way the warmth's moved in, and, there's probably a million different factors. But that is concerning for the Cincinnati area. And Ohio as a whole, I think last year, I think we were at one point the leading state with tornadoes.
Really?
Yeah. They weren't these EF4s, EF5s, obviously, but we had so many EF0s, EF1s, EF2s, and it just seemed like every weekend in the spring, summer, and into the fall, we had a tornado somewhere in Ohio. And it was unprecedented at the time, just to be like, how many of these are going to keep happening? So we're hoping that doesn't happen this year. There was a whole lot of severe weather down in the south this past weekend with a lot of tornadoes. But again, it was south, like directly south of us, not southwest or,
Right.
or directly west. So that is a concerning thing here in Cincinnati. We're still in a much better position than our friends in Alabama, Arkansas, even into places like Mississippi. But yeah, that severe weather's not fun when you're talking about tornadoes.
What's wild is meteorology is the science, but a lot of sciences you kind of think you're trying to solve a problem, and once you solve it, you have the answer, you have the key.
Yeah.
Meteorology, you are solving a new problem every single day. It's trial and error every single day. To the point where if you get something right, if you nail it, if you say, "Hey, everyone, I think you should hunker down. This system is going to dump a ton of snow on us," and you're right, and you nail it.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. You
Nobody cares if
get
you're
up
right.
and you do it again the
Yeah.
next day. It is like just constant and ongoing.
Yeah. And what is the most common? Well, you don't know, but I bet if I phrase it this way, you'll know. When I go up and meet somebody and I tell them what I do, what do you think the first thing? I'm a meteorologist. What do you think they say?
How come you're not right? Why are you wrong so often?
They almost always say, "Oh, the best job in the world. A job where you can be wrong 50% of the time and still get paid." And I don't think people realize how much of an insult or slap in the face. And they all think it's funny, and I get it. But it's just like, imagine if I said something to you about your job like that is along those lines. Like, how would you feel? But I have to put a smile on and be like, "Oh, yeah, it's so funny." But it's a science. But even harder is it's a new science with new equations every single day, which I don't think people truly understand.
The risk of trying to nail it and get it right is sometimes too great. So severe weather, it is better to tell people to prepare and be wrong. So this is such a Cincinnati thing. Oh, they're overreacting. We're probably only going to get an inch or two. Well, what if we don't? What if they're right? What if we do get 10 inches?
Yeah. Which happened earlier this year.
Yeah, it's better to be prepared for it and it not happen. What if there's not a tornado? Good. That's great.
Awesome.
Right?
Your house is safe.
You're not going to say, "You know what? This happens all the time. We predict this," and it's.
Well, here's the best thing too, is people think that when we forecast tornadoes or when we cut into your favorite television show, people think that we're making money. Not the meteorologist, like the station. We lose as a station money every single time that we have to cut in, because we then have to go through and calculate every single commercial that we went over, and we then have to pay that money back. So we are losing money when we are cutting into programming. We are not making money, but we are also legally responsible from the FTC. Anytime there is a warning, whether it's severe thunderstorm or tornado, we have to jump on air. That is the purpose of public television, is to help the public out.
Speaking of severe weather, was Twister your Top Gun?
It wasn't, only because, again, I wasn't a
You came
big
into-
weather
yeah.
nerd, you know? I have grown to love it. I still have not seen Twisters.
You've not seen
I
Twisters?
have not seen
Oh my
Twisters.
gosh.
I haven't seen, I mean, now that I got 2 little ones, I mean, it's hard for me to get time to go to a movie. If I have time, I'm going to Applebee's. I'm not going to...
Listen, it's streaming. Carry out Applebee's, stop by, get some.
What is it
cauliflower
streaming
wings.
on now? Do you know?
I think it's on Prime now. I think I just
Ooh,
saw
if
it
it's
was
on Prime, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's got Prime. So, all right. I'm getting ready to... our family's going out to Colorado for a family trip.
Awesome.
And so I got a 2.5 hour long plane ride, so maybe I can...
That is perfect. Yeah. But you've seen the original Twister.
Yes.
Now that you have the training, now that you have the knowledge, are you still able to enjoy it, or do you poke holes in it?
I'm still able to enjoy it. It's funny enough, actually, one of my favorite movies growing up was The Day After Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I laugh at it now, but they show these weather models about like this massive, looks like hurricanes on land, and that's what's bringing in the polar vortex and freezing over all of Manhattan and everything. And I mean, it's so ridiculous because like that would never happen, and the way it happens. But like, I don't care. It's a freaking amazing movie.
Right.
Like, it's so enjoyable. And so I'm the same way with Twister, you know. Would I love to be out in a cornfield trying to throw up Pepsi cans, you know, up into this thing with trying to get some data? Absolutely. But I've never storm chased, so like I need to do that now.
They were like, all right, Cam, we need every pop can you have.
Yeah.
Get all those dew cans out there. And you're going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a fountain guy. Can we do anything with...
I did recently go to Kroger, and they had like digital deal of the week was
Yeah.
some soda, because soda cans are expensive now. Like getting soda at the store is insanely expensive, and it was $10 for a 24 pack, which is like what it used to be, but now that's like a great deal. It's like $16.
Yeah.
And I'm like, gosh.
Well, every now and then they'll have a deal where it's buy 2, get 3 free. And you're like,
Right.
am I reading this wrong? But then you're also like,
You're still spending $20+.
when you put that in your cart, like that's a lot.
Yeah,
Like-
I'm not afraid of the shame factor though. People can see me stacking that up. There's a guy on TikTok who's like his whole thing is being a soda addict,
Yeah.
and like he makes me look like I got no problems at all. And so like he'll go like 2 or 3 times a week and just fill up his SUV with sodas whenever there's a deal on it. So whenever people say that I have an issue, I just show them that guy, and I'm like, no, see, this guy has an issue. I have it under control.
You have that readily available just in case. So speaking of not getting it wrong 50% of the time, but in that same vein, you have 2 young children, 2 young girls. You're here at the museum pretty often.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
And I've never seen you in the museum.
That's
You
true.
come into my house, you play with my toys. You don't even have the courtesy to say, hey, I'm here right now.
I have
Do you wanna
told
pop
you
down?
a few times that I'm here.
That's true.
I have told you a few times. But when I'm here, it's usually I've coordinated with other parents because like this is the place to, especially during the winter. Where else do you go in Cincinnati? Like,
Right.
You come to the museum center, and so I'll get here like as soon as it opens, and we'll spend 2-3 hours. You know, if it was up to me, it'd be longer. But I usually bring both the girls, and the littlest one still has nap time that we refuse to skip over. Like we are set in stone parents on when we do nap times and stuff. But I mean, in 3 or 4 hours, they're exhausted, and I'm like, this is the best thing in the world.
Obviously, they're spending a lot of time in the Children's Museum. What are their favorite areas? Where do they kind of gravitate towards?
Ren, for the first 2 years, so she's almost 4 now. So she was born and raised here. So really the first 3 years of her life, she did not care about anything other than the trains. Like as soon as you walk in, boom, the big train room. And believe it or not, when I tell people that, a lot of people are like, we've never been in that room.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, that's one of the coolest things in the world, seeing the city landscape with the trains going through. It goes to night and turns purple, and you can see where our condo was. Like our condo was one of those buildings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so we left the condo sadly, but just being able to see that was so cool. And then the real life trolley that you can walk in, she loved that. She is definitely, as she's gotten older, she usually wants to go down to the Children's Museum now and play. In the whether it's the what's it called, the trees,
The woods?
the woods, yep. So she'll play in that area. She loves the ball pit now. The new space that you guys did, the reading nook area.
Oh, yeah, Kidstown Park.
Yeah,
That's
she
awesome.
loves that as well. So yeah, she's definitely more of a lower floor girl now. But when we first got here, it was dinosaurs and trains was what she really loved.
I think that's the misconception is people think I have young kids, it's just the Children's Museum, they're not going to like stuff in the other areas. But what I think is has been really cool is this: we've designed these exhibits. I say we have.
No, you're the mastermind.
Zero part. And Mitch has been pretty involved in a lot of them, but
not from a design standpoint.
But a lot of video production, so a lot of videos that you see in there.
Sure. Yeah.
Mitch had a hand in most of those, but they're accessible for multiple ages, and that's not to say it's vanilla, so that everyone it's layered, so you can get what you want out of it depending on your knowledge level or how in depth you want to hang out in it. And so, having a toddler, having a 2-year-old just peer over this miniature landscape, they feel kind of like a giant, but it just lays out in front of them. For me, it's always a lot of fun to walk the floor with people who've not been here in a while or aren't here often, because you start to see the museum through their eyes, things that you just kind of breeze past or don't even notice. But yeah, there are so many galleries in the History Museum, the Science Museum, not just the Children's Museum, that are really great for young kids. And sure, they're reading every panel. No, but most adults don't either.
I don't, yeah.
At the base level, a museum is a place to come and see cool things.
Be captivated by what is around you.
Yeah.
And for the first probably year we came, I was still discovering new parts of the museum. I mean, I remember when I discovered the Ice Age portion, I had no idea that was here. And I had come several times. I remember texting Hannah and being like, "You'll never believe what I just found." And Ren loved that with, the animals, the
wolves and
Oh, I was obsessed with that. And then probably like a month later, I discovered the caves. We had never been down to the cave portion or whatever. And so we walked through that.
Did you do the upper trail or the lower trail?
I think the lower one.
So the lower one, you're going up and down stairs, and it's much
it's
tighter
narrow,
and smaller. The upper level is very cool because you get these really neat overlooks, and it's also...
See, I don't think I've done that yet.
Well, it's stroller and it's wheelchair accessible, so it is... Like you see this cave, and you're like, oh, that's cool, that's not for me. No, it's for everyone. It's very cool.
And you've got the new area right across from that used to be like the insect area.
Yeah, where we used to have our hissing cockroaches and some of our snakes and our tree frogs, but now that is advancing health. So it's all, body systems and how the lungs work, how the heart works, muscles and all that stuff. And it's very cool because, are you saying, well, how's a 5-year-old, how's a 6-year-old going to understand lungs and really get into that?
Just being around it.
Just being around it. And there's... from that young level, it's kind of, hey, move your body. It's moving bodies, active bodies are healthier bodies, even doing the laparoscopic surgery. And what's amazing is you see these young kids and they can do all the, like the interactives and the technical stuff a lot better than their parents often. Because
they're a sponge. They just soak everything up. And,
it is wild. Did you grow up going to museums? Were you a museum kid?
Not really. So I'm from Indianapolis, which has the #1 children's museum in the entire country.
Oh, that's debatable, but sure.
But I have not been in several years. Yeah. But, growing up, that was the #1. We would get like these Guinness World Record books. I don't know if you remember those. Like every year they would come out. Like those were the books that I was reading in my school library. And it would always have Children's Museum, Indianapolis, #1. So in my heart, Cincinnati is #1. I need to get back to the Indianapolis Children's Museum. But anyways.
Indianapolis Children's Museum is fantastic. They do a lot of really incredible stuff, and it is kind of the smorgasbord for kids. So they're fantastic.
But, I mean, I didn't grow up going to it a lot. We were probably 25, 30, probably 35 minutes away from downtown. We were south of downtown, and all that stuff's mainly north. And so, like, field trips, but we didn't have a museum membership or anything like that. Which is why I loved living in OTR for 5 years. It took me less than 3 minutes to get to the museum center. Same thing with the zoo, or same thing with the aquarium. It was like you could have no plans to go there, and then just all of a sudden it's like, should we go to the museum today? Yeah, okay, boom, put some shoes on. We're there in less than 10 minutes. From when that original thought pops into your head, which has been amazing. And now that we're over in Mount Lookout, I feel so spoiled because I'm like, oh, it's a 10, 15-minute drive over. I don't know if I can do that. But obviously
that's rough.
I know, but it's still, as somebody who didn't grow up with this chance, I guess, or, being surrounded by it, I'm just so grateful that both my daughters are going to be able to absorb all this information at such a young age and be way ahead of me, which wasn't hard to do, but way ahead of me.
And that's what's really cool about a membership is, you talked about it, you kind of pop in before nap time and you
You
you're
don't feel
on a tight
forced
clock.
to get everything in. It's just enjoy it at your own pace. Do the same things that you love. Come back and do some new things, stuff like that. I will pop down to the space portion because that's my favorite part. Being a Boilermaker, Neil
Yeah.
Armstrong went to Purdue, like seeing his stuff there. I will then watch some of the videos that, in the massive, circular area. And I'm like, I haven't seen this one yet. And it's like, I can just sit there and relax and watch it. Ren's running around playing with stuff. And one place that she hasn't really played around with is the area around the corner, still in the Space Museum, where you're like doing the robots or whatever.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can code the Mars rovers, which is funny because that's another area that kids can do really well. Because I look at it, I'm like, oh, RC cars,
Right.
it's real time. So you push right and it's actively going right, and then you push straight, but you have to think ahead and code it in. But that's very cool. And you can also pump up the air pressure and do a little meteor strike in this lunar dust, and you see it in slow-mo in real time. There are meteors down there, which is not what meteorology is a study of, but
Right.
still very
Close
cool.
enough, close enough.
Good enough.
Yeah. Purdue is known as the cradle of quarterbacks in football, but also the cradle of astronauts.
Who are the quarterbacks? Drew Brees?
Drew Brees, Kyle Orton, Curtis Painter for a little bit, Len Dawson, who was Super Bowl winner in ones and twos. But I think we have for like almost 20 to 30 years, we had a quarterback in the NFL from Purdue.
Really?
Aiden O'Connell, who is married to my sister's best friend. She was in their wedding. He is the backup quarterback for the Raiders, but started like 8 games last year. David Blau was on the Detroit Lions. He went viral for his wife is an Olympic sprinter. And like there's a video of him just like going crazy while she's in Olympic trials, like around with his teammates. So that's cool. But it's not guys for the most part, other than Drew Brees, that you really know that are, household names. But yeah, some way, somehow, we just always sprinkle in some guys. But the astronauts is the cool part for me. And when I was at my first job there for 3 years, I was doing meteorology and reporting. And any time there was a space story, I was on it. I was interviewing astronauts and just a whole lot of fun things. And I got to meet and talk with, why am I spacing on his name? The second guy on the moon, next to Neil Armstrong, was
Buzz Aldrin.
Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wanted to say Buzz Lawson. I'm like, I know that's not real, but Lawson was our computer science building. Anyways, got to meet him, shake his hand, do a one-on-one interview with him, sit down and just be like, this is insane.
How was he?
He is, so like there's been, I guess, footage of him, like punching people for saying the moon landing is fake. And he's that same guy.
You support it?
He's old, but like the dude is sharp as a tack. He's still doing stuff with Purdue to get to Mars. He's part of like our Purdue to Mars program. And yeah, he's fantastic.
I think people forget that the early astronauts, and still a lot of astronauts, were fighter pilots.
Yeah.
And fighter pilots, they have this kind of swagger to them. And so it's funny when people talk and tell stories about Buzz Aldrin. They think, because Neil Armstrong was such a reserved person.
Yeah, quiet guy.
And then Buzz Aldrin's kind of the complete opposite
Yep.
of that. But it's, I didn't really realize this. All the photos of people on the moon from the Apollo 11, that's all Buzz, because Neil
Right.
was taking the photos.
Yep.
The only photo of Neil is in the reflection of Buzz's visor, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We got to see, we had the Apollo 11 command module here a few years ago, and we got to watch them uncrate and place Buzz Aldrin's gloves
That's awesome.
from that mission, which was super cool.
Yeah.
Check out our YouTube. We've got some video of that.
Okay. Awesome.
But you never wanted to be an astronaut?
Oh, no, I did, for
Did you?
sure. But I also was like, I've applied to NASA probably like 8 times.
Have you really?
I have, because I have a master's degree and I have the science background. That's like the 2 things that they require. Clearly I'm never going to get it. But I have applied to be an astronaut. Anytime they say like, oh, we're having open applications, I will apply. And to this day, if it ever becomes like semi-affordable to fly to space, which I feel like eventually it's got to, Like,
we have a new OmniMax film that's talking about that.
I saw that
very
when I
topic.
walked in.
Yeah.
I saw that. But let's say, in 30 years I'm retired or something, and let's say it's $10,000 to go up to space. I might do it. Like, I would love to. Finance-wise would be the hardest part, but like if I'm ever given the opportunity, it wouldn't even be a second thought. I'm going up into space, and I am experiencing that, because that would be a dream.
Do you have a space fund started just in case?
I don't. Maybe I should
Now's the
do that.
time.
Maybe I should transfer all the 529 stuff. Who needs a college education these days, and just put it into the
That's
the
all
space
good.
one.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, honey.
Yeah. Sorry, Ren and Wesley.
Yeah.
Going to trade school.
Jumping back to meteorology real quick, can you name different types of clouds? Could you, like, if we walked outside, can I say what's that? What's that? What's that?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, there's so many different clouds, and it's funny because, believe it or not, like you do get tested on that. Like, and I had so many.
Do you?
Oh yeah, there was a whole.
I would love that. I would love to take a class on clouds.
And there were so many, but there's like 15 different variations of each one. And like again, because I'm not a science nerd, I just don't care. I don't care what kind of cloud I'm looking at. It never intrigued me. So like I know
Because you were applied meteorology.
That's right.
What's the point of knowing the weather?
Right. But like I'll know a cumulus, cumulonimbus, stratus, cirrus, like that kind of stuff. But even within those, there's like a whole bunch of different ones. Wall clouds, everybody knows what the wall cloud or shelf cloud is. There's the imagine like the Hawaiian rolls like flipped over and you like looking up and you see like they look like Hawaiian rolls up in the sky.
Yeah.
Or I call them Toy Story clouds on air a lot, if they look like that.
Toy Story, Simpsons clouds. Those are great. Those make for good visuals, right?
Oh, for sure.
A photo
Get a nice
or a video.
time lapse on there.
Yep.
I mean, that's what's cool about Union Terminal is, it's this massive, iconic building, but it's got all this sky behind it. So you get the right clouds, or you get a sunset, things like that. And it's also crazy though because weather
it's looking west, so it gets all the weather coming in.
Yeah. So typically weather moves west to east, right? And so you can look out the front doors and it's beautiful sunny day and you walk out and you turn look behind the building. It's just this dark gray cloud. It's crazy.
Which is why we talked about this earlier, how Cincinnati had the first ever National Weather Service, because back in the day, Cincinnati was like the West. It was the biggest city out here. It was a massive, trade hub and all that good stuff. So the reason they started the National Weather Service here at the observatory was where it was, out there in Mount Lookout Hyde Park, so they could relay what was happening for them out east to places like New York or, and stuff like that. So yeah, that was why that was created here.
You visited the museum plenty. If you could have anyone's role in the museum for a day, anyone in the museum, who would you pick? What kind of job would you want to do?
I don't know. Is this a job application? Like, are we getting somewhere here? Is this
We'll keep you on file.
Yeah, right, yeah. I'll pull my NASA application and I'll just submit it to you guys. I don't know. I feel like it would be really cool to just be down in the museum, in the Children's Museum, with one of like the small exhibits. I feel like sometimes they have like pop-up things going on, so I feel like that would be it. Just kind of sit there, and if people are truly interested, they walk up to you.
One of the programmers,
yes, and just explain everything in great detail and stuff like that. I think I'd really enjoy that. I like to be challenged, so maybe not your job. I'm just kidding.
Easiest job and just screw around. I mean, I just lean on Mitch to do a lot of stuff.
It's a team effort.
I was going to say final question, but I realize I have two. One real quick: is the green screen hard?
Not now. I mean,
was that hard? Like, were you constantly turning the wrong way?
It can be complicated some, and I still, to this day, I have always stood on the same side. And if you watch WCPO, you'll notice that I'm the only person that stands. I guess if you're looking at the TV, I stand on the right side, but in the studio, I'm on the left side. All of our graphics were made for the other way, and I got in, and I'm like, I can't do this. I've spent 8 years being on this side. Like, if I turn the other way, like, my hands just don't work. It's so much more complicated
You're
for me.
WCPO's Zoolander.
And so I have flipped all the graphics. I had to go in and like custom make them to put everything to the other side, and so that way. And even now, people are like, the other meteorologists are like I'll make a graphic and be like, well, I can't use this graphic because it's not on the right side. I'm like, well, you can move it. And they're like, that's too much work. I don't want to do that. I was like, I'm sorry.
All right. Last question: if you had a walk-up song, what would it be?
Ooh.
And why don't you? Why can't they play you into the weather segments like that?
My junior year of high school, we had walk-up music for baseball. We all had our own walk-up song, and I wasn't starting at the time when we chose everything, but my walk-up song was Highway to Hell. It's like, this is going to be awesome. This is just a BA song, like.
For that one viewer, that's Highway to Heck.
Yeah, that's right.
At
That's
best.
right. Sorry. I'm gonna get that viewer email. And I remember I was like 3 or 4 games in, I'm expected to pinch hit. That or I was starting that game because somebody else was sick, or I don't know. And all I could think about was, ooh, are people going to like my walk-up song? I did not care about anything. I wasn't even paying attention to the at-bat. And they ended up not playing it. I don't know what happened, but they didn't play it. And I was so relieved that they didn't play it. First pitch, I take it over the left center field fence. First pitch of my varsity career, I hit a home run.
That's awesome.
And it was strictly because that song didn't play. It just mentally reset me, and I calmed down, and boom, smacked a homer, my first ever at bat. So I'd probably go with Highway to Hell just because I chose it that day. And even though I never officially got to hear it, I'll go with that one again.
That's just so funny that the idea is to hype it up, and then it didn't play, and then
it actually helped me that they didn't play it.
Who do I write a letter to make walk-up music part of the show?
Jeff Brogan,
right, Jeff.
general manager, West Side
Jeff.
native. Yeah, if you, I know you're listening, Jeff. So let's make this happen.
I've got your email, Jeff. We're gonna blast it out here. We're just gonna
That's right.
dox Jeff Brogan to get walk-up music. All right. Well, the weather's not going to forecast itself, so we're gonna let you get out of here. Cam, thanks for joining us. This was a lot of fun. I warned you walking in. Get ready for a lot of 10-year-old weather questions. We agreed they would be 7-year-old.
So let's
at
knock
best.
it down just a little bit. Yeah, make me look better.
So this was also Applebee's propaganda, but listen, they've earned it.
If people have gotten to this point in the podcast, thank you, because you're probably like, am I listening to a Applebee's commercial right now, or am I listening to the Museum Center? So I appreciate you guys having me on here. This was a lot of fun. When you run out of people and you're desperate for somebody else again, call my name.
Yeah, potentially last episode. We'll see.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Awesome. Cam, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for listening to Meanwhile at the Museum. Remember, if you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe. But more importantly, come visit us IRL. That's in real life. Visit cincymuseum.org for the latest reasons to visit. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.